Okay, so tomorrow starts the divisional round of the 2023/2024 NFL playoffs. And I'm excited. I said that last week. I was excited for the wild card round. Most of the games didn't really live up to that. A lot of them were just blowouts and ass whippings, which is, I mean, don't get me wrong, like a good blowout every now and then can still be kind of fun, especially if it's a team you really like doing the blowing out or a team you really like to see lose getting their ass kicked. But for the most part, it was kind of boring in that regard. I'm hoping the divisional round is a lot better. I'm hoping your games are a lot more intense. But before I go into those picks, kind of want to take a quick look back at the games that happened last weekend. Starting in order. So starting with Cleveland and Houston, with Houston winning 45-14. The first half of this game, for me as a viewer, was absolutely excellent. It's what I want to see from a playoff game. I think it was the first drive or two of each team wasn't really going anywhere. It's like, okay, the offenses are kind of taking some time to get into rhythm. The defenses are able to do some work. Let's go. And then we had a firework explosion. It was like Houston kicked a field goal. Cleveland scored a touchdown. Houston scored a touchdown. Cleveland scored a touchdown. And now Houston scored another touchdown. It was something like that. And from what I remember, Houston, I believe, had a 10-point lead going into halftime. I think it was 24-14 at the half. That sounds about right. Then I believe it was Houston got the ball to start the second half. Cleveland's defense got to stop. So Cleveland gets the ball, down 10 in the third quarter, still very, very much a game, very much alive. They're making progress. They're going down the field. Flacco gets hit as he throws. Ball gets intercepted, returned for a touchdown, pick six. And I'm like, I remember saying out loud, ooh, that might be game. And then immediately saying, wait. It's only a 17-point game. That's still a lot. That's a 3-score game. I believe at that point, we're still in the third quarter. I know Cleveland's defense gave up a lot in the first half, but they're still a good defense. This is an offense that was playing really well at the end of the year. 17, you can come back from that. It's not necessarily easy, but you can do it. Cleveland's next drive. There's a fourth down that ends in another pick six. I'm like, okay, now you're down 24. This is when I press X to doubt, Cleveland's next drive, I believe it was another fourth down. Flacco gets sacked, and only a few plays later, Houston scores again to go up 31. This is 1,000% game over. Houston dominated this game. Now, I know officially the Week 18 game was a regular season game, but let's call a spade here. It is a game between Houston and, almost at Tennessee, between Houston and Indianapolis on prime time. Winner goes to the playoffs, loser goes home. That's a playoff atmosphere. That is for all intents and purposes a playoff game, and Houston won. And then in the wild card round, they won that too. So it kind of feels like the Texans, essentially, for all intents and purposes, are 2-0 in the are 2-0 in the playoffs this year. And this team is good. This team is balling. And I feel like, especially after a game like that, this is a team with momentum and moxie. And that's dangerous. I remember saying, I was like, this is a young team with nothing to lose. We might see them go for it a lot more on fourth down or a 2-point conversion they don't need just to kind of go for it. No, that's the shit that Cleveland was doing. They're like, all right, let's try and be aggressive and get this pick six. All right, we really got to be aggressive and get this sack leads to a touchdown. This Houston team is playing really well. I know the Ravens were the best team in the regular season in terms of their record and who they beat. I would say, no question for me, the Ravens were the best team in the regular season. I would not be looking forward to hosting the Texans right now. I'm still not sure who I think is going to win that game. I mean, I guess I'll kind of do that. I'll just kind of go into my picks, as we go instead of doing it at the end. Like, Houston and Baltimore. Baltimore is the better team. But like I said, Houston's already, as far as I'm concerned, they're essentially 2-0 in the playoffs already. And I've seen the Ravens have really good seasons. I've seen Lamar Jackson have an MVP season, even beat a dominant 49ers team, and then do nothing in the playoffs. I remember saying earlier in the season, I know this Ravens team looks really good right now. But the Ravens, to me, are the Cowboys. They're a very, we'll get to that game in a bit. Like, this is a very good team. You got players on offense, you got players on defense. This is a team that can click and dominate people. I know that, I understand that. I need to see it in the postseason. I need to see them be consistent in the postseason. No, not every team is going to win a Super Bowl. No, like, yes, sometimes bullshit happens. Sometimes you just get unlucky. There's a weird play. There's a call that shouldn't have happened or did happen. I'm a Saints fan. I get it. I want to trust this Ravens team because I feel like they're better than the Texans. Maybe I'm just a prisoner of the moment, but I believe a lot in that momentum. I think I'm going to pick Houston. I don't know if I really believe it, but I'm going to pick Houston. We'll see what happens, man. But, like, could you imagine a Texans-Lions Super Bowl? Now, maybe in a week, that'll be complete balderdash because both of them got blasted in the divisional round. I don't know. But the fact that that can dead-ass happen is pretty fucking neat. Let's see, who's after that? After that is Miami and Kansas City. Kansas City won 26-7. This game is about what I expected. You have a Dolphins offense that just doesn't produce against winning teams, and as such, kind of has not produced the last few weeks of the season. Even against the Cowboys, which, granted, is a good defense, they won the game. They, by no means, looked like a dominant force. Blasted by the Ravens. They looked inept against the Bills, and they looked inept here. I know it's like negative 30 in terms of the degrees and the wind chill, and I don't think that helps either. It's just kind of like a whole bunch of things. Like, this is a team that doesn't do well against winning teams. They just did not look good lately. They're playing in the freezing cold and going against a genuinely good Chiefs defense. I was not expecting the Dolphins to put on a show, and they didn't. And looking at the Chiefs, this is a team that I know plays well in the playoffs. Even when they don't look the best in the... It feels a lot like the Patriots. Like, this is a team where even if they don't look the best, they look kind of weak. You cannot overlook them. They scored 26, which is a pretty decent number. And even then, there were still, like, red zone issues. Like, there was a touchdown that got called back on a penalty. And not even like I don't think it was a bullshit penalty either. They weren't able to capitalize there. They had to kick a lot of field goals. A lot of drops. Kadarius Toney was a scratch from this game, and there were still drops everywhere. But it didn't matter because the offense was still able to put up points, and the defense did not give up any points. Holy shit. They're going into Buffalo next week. So I know this one's a little early because this game was supposed to happen here, but it ended up getting delayed. So let me just go and talk about the Buffalo game real quick. The Buffalo beat the Steelers. The Bills beat the Steelers. What was the score of that? Oh, sorry, that was the Eagles game. I was like, the Steelers didn't score 9 points. What the fuck am I talking about? It was a 31-17. That's it. It's the game where Josh Allen just kind of fucking went off. It was, 3 touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground. I've seen people say, it's like, oh my god, that was a fake slide. That's such a dirty play. That should be illegal. That's not a fake slide. He was trying to change direction. It was a juke. No part of that, to me, looks like a fake slide. That's really fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. That's really fucking stupid. That was a great touchdown run. I also saw the play where Minka Fitzpatrick tried to tackle, who was it? I want to say it was Shakir, and like had him down, and Shakir doesn't go down and just scores a touchdown. Like that was a really cool play. The Bills, I don't want to say this. The Bills were up 21-0 at one point and looked like they were about to cruise. They were about to dominate. And then Pittsburgh came back, and all of a sudden it was a 7-point game. I think it was 17-24. And then Buffalo had to get their shit together and win, which they did. This is, to me, it's a game that kind of encapsulates everything about the Bills. Like, they can have a game where they are clicking and they are dominant, but there can also be these lapses where field goals are being missed. The offense isn't putting up all the points that they should be. The defense starts to give up a lot of plays, and like the other team can snatch momentum. They were able to get it done when they needed to, though. And now they're hosting Kansas City. This, I believe I've heard, is Mahomes. I know it's for sure Mahomes' first road playoff game. Apparently, it is his first time in Buffalo with fans, because he played in Buffalo in 2020 where there were no fans. So it's not like I look at this and go like, oh my God, I don't think Mahomes can win on the road. He's a home merchant or anything like that. It's just, I just want Buffalo to win. And I don't hate Kansas City. I really don't. My dad is a Chiefs fan. So as a result, like, I'm not a Chiefs fan. I'm still a Saints fan. But I like seeing the Chiefs do well. Like, I'm happy for my dad whenever they do. The last Super Bowl was literally played on his birthday, and I was so fucking happy for him that his team won on his birthday. But I've been saying, if Buffalo gets in, I think they go to the Super Bowl. And I understand they did not look dominant their last few games in the regular season. I mean, they did against the Cowboys. They destroyed the Cowboys. They didn't look dominant against the Chargers. They did not look dominant against the Dolphins. But it's one of those weird games that maybe gives you a lot of hope. You're like, dude, this is a team that was playing terribly and at times looked like they were actively trying to lose, and they still won. Does that mean they're unstoppable? But when they were 6-6, I'm like, look at all the teams they have to play. If they get in, they're going to have a lot of momentum. They're going to be battle-tested. I don't know if that's a team I'd want to play. So I'm going to pick Buffalo. I think it's going to be a fun game. I think it'll be a tightly contested game. I guess I'll just go with that. Like, I don't really know what else to say about it, but I got Buffalo winning. It's not one I feel super confident about, because there's the other part of my brain that goes, watch Kansas City just win this anyways. It's like, as vulnerable as they looked in the regular season doesn't matter when you get to the playoffs. They're just going to do what they do, but I'm still going to roll with Buffalo. And speaking of the regular season not fucking mattering, the Green Bay Packers rolled into Dallas and won 48-32. Because the Cowboys just don't win in the playoffs. And I know, yeah, they won last year. They won a game in the wild card and then didn't do shit in the divisional round. I'm going to be honest, I'm genuinely shocked Mike McCarthy still has a job. At least, with the Cowboys. I thought for sure, I was like, look, if they don't make it to the NFC Championship, I think he's gone. Maybe if it's like, a really hard, what the fuck was I trying to say? A really hard-fought game in the divisional round where you can see the players are giving it their all, the coach is giving it their all, but some bullshit happens. You're like, it's kind of like that Kansas City Buffalo game from a few years ago, the 13 seconds game, like just an all-time classic like that. Which, granted, I mean, you could also say, Buffalo's defense. Like, I know you guys are, tired and shit, but what the fuck was that? Anyways, though. If it's a really great divisional round performance, maybe he gets to keep his job. But I remember even thinking, if they go out in the wild card round or they lose to the Eagles, which, boy, that didn't happen, I think he's gone. They did not lose this game. They were embarrassed in this game. The final score is a 16-point differential, which is only a 2-score game, but it's kind of on the fringe. Like, when you look at it, you're like, I know that's only 2 scores. That looks kind of dominant. At one point, what were they down? I think they were down 32, because they were down 48-16 at one point. They were down 27-0 at one point. A pick six, Jordan Love just going off and becoming Aaron Rodgers. I think I've read that the Cowboys in Jerry World in that stadium have 2 playoff wins. That would be one against the Lions. And was that 2012? Is that right? It was the Dez caught it year. So it's one against the Lions. What's the other game? I know there was a playoff game they won against the Eagles. I don't know if it was in that stadium. That was in the 2009 playoffs when the Saints won the Super Bowl and the Cowboys got the shit kicked out of them by the Vikings. It might have been that, because I know they beat the Seahawks a few years ago. I don't remember if that was in Seattle or not. But apparently the Cowboys have 2 playoff wins in that building. The Packers have a Super Bowl, Dak's rookie year, and this game. So they have 3 playoff wins in the Cowboys building. That's really fucking bad for Dallas. So much for the curse being lifted. Like I said, the big storyline with Dallas is what can they do in the playoffs? The answer was nothing. The Packers are cooking. The Packers rolled, man. And now they get to play San Francisco. Yes, the Packers had a winner-go-home game against the Bears, but it wasn't a prime time game. Because that's the other thing that really makes it, for me, feel like Houston has played 2 playoff games. It was winner-go-home and a prime time game. The Packers didn't quite have that. So I feel like they're not quite 2-0 in the playoffs the way the Texans are. It's more 1-0 and 1.5, 1.5-0 kind of thing. And I don't know if that dominant win, how much of that is because the Packers are just that good? How much of it is Dallas is just that dysfunctional? I can kind of believe either. I don't believe the 49ers are that dysfunctional. And I know that Kyle Shanahan, if he's up double digits in the fourth quarter, you can kind of bet he's going to blow that lead. Or double digits. I mean, generally if it's 10 to 14 points. Or, 28-3. Which, yes, wasn't the lead in the fourth quarter. I think it was 28-9 in the fourth quarter. I think that sounds about right. Anyway, sorry, itchy face. Anyways, point. I have seen this 49ers team, more or less, win consistently in the playoffs. They don't have this. I don't have the same questions for the 49ers that I do for the Ravens. I do think the 49ers are going to win this game. I am going to take them over the Packers. I'm rooting for the Packers. I hope they win. But I am going to be taking the 49ers. The Rams at the Lions. 24-23, a 1-point victory. This game, it's kind of like what I was saying about the first half of the Texans-Browns game. You had some defensive stops, then a bunch of offense. It was really fun, and then the game got bad. This game was that game's first half almost throughout. But in reverse order. You had fireworks early. The Lions scored on 3 straight touchdowns. The Rams were scoring. I think it was a field goal and 2 touchdowns. Then in the second half, the Lions defense forgot how to play football unless they were in the... Why don't you just come sit on my lap? Oh, no! No, you get duck. Sorry about that. Sorry, bub. You were gonna hit the video and stop the recording. The Lions defense just seemed like they didn't know how to play football unless they were in the red zone. The Rams offense knew how to play football until they got to the red zone. And the Lions offense just seemed to forget how to play a lot of football in the second half, aside from a couple drives and at the very end of the game. It was fun. It was exciting. Yes, Puka Nacua got held on that final Rams play. These final offensive Rams play. That should have been called. There should have been a first down. I won't lie. I do get a sense of pleasure seeing the Rams get fucked on a no call. I can't deny it. The other part of my brain goes, the Lions at the end of the first half had a 4th and 5. Rams player jumped. Clearly fucking jumped. Would have given the Lions a first down. And with all the momentum they had, they're probably at least getting a field goal, maybe getting another touchdown. And somehow it's called offsides, and a terrible fucking call. So I look at that and go, the refs denied the Lions a first down by penalty at the end of the first half, and near the end of the second half, did the same thing against the Rams. Both were terrible calls. I guess they kind of cancel each other out. Officiating errors aside, and to be fair, they're 2 fucking glaring errors. I think this was a very fun game. I'm glad the Lions won. I understand Rams fans booing Stafford because this is a playoff game. I genuinely feel like if this was a regular season game, they would have been a lot more excited. He probably would have gotten like a standing ovation. Then, okay, it's time for football. But like, no. This is our first playoff game in 30 years, and you're the enemy. We have to boo you. I do think the fact that they were chanting for Jared Goff was really neat. And, and then Stafford after the game saying, I'm not happy for the city or the fans. I'm happy for the players. Like, I understand his saltiness, too. He just lost a playoff game where he was getting actively booed for a city and fan base he played for a really long fucking time. I feel like all of that's justified. I feel like if they play again, if he goes to Detroit in the regular season, I feel like they can make some kind of peace, I guess. Sorry, my brain stopped for a second. What's the other game? Is it the Eagles? It's the Eagles. The Eagles got fucked up. They lost 32-9. I remember going into the game and saying, I have the Eagles winning because I don't have a lot of road teams winning this week. I just have one. I just have Cleveland. I don't know. Something about that feels wrong. And I guess it was wrong because Cleveland wasn't the road team to win. It was Green Bay. And as I was talking about it, I was like, I know I hate the Bucs. I cannot justify picking the Eagles over them. I know the Bucs did not look great. They're at least offensively their last 2 games of the season. The Eagles have looked terrible for weeks. They were embarrassed against the Giants, against the Cardinals, the 49ers, the Cowboys, the Drew Lock-led Seahawks. This team looks so fucking bad. They are going to get their asses kicked, and boy did they. The offense couldn't do shit. The Bucs blitzed damn near every play, and the Eagles could do nothing for it, or nothing against it. The defense was terrible. The tackling was terrible. It looked like a team that gave up, and a team that gave up weeks ago. Even the fucking tush-push didn't work. It is sad to see Jason Kelce's last game be this, especially compared to last year. It's like, granted, they lost the Super Bowl, but it was a fucking game. I think I've heard him say, he's like, man, like, I don't want anyone to fucking pity me that this is my last game. Like, fuck off. And like, I mean, fair enough, but that does just kind of suck. You know, you want to go out in the sun, like, right off into the sunset, or at least really go down swinging. It's kind of like Brady, man. That being Brady's last game is pretty fucking sad. But it is what it is. Tampa rolled, and now they get to go into Detroit. I still have the Lions winning because I really want it to happen. I know the Bucs have a really good defense. I don't know how much of that was just because the Eagles have been so broken for weeks on end. Because the Lions' offense is working. I think it will be a close game. I can definitely see Tampa pulling off a win. Like, that is not a team to be underestimated. But I think I do have Detroit overall. So if that's the case, going over my divisional picks again, I've got Houston upsetting Baltimore, 49ers taking care of business against the Packers, the Lions taking care of business against the Bucs, and the Bills finally beating the Chiefs in the playoffs, which would mean my championship games are the Bills hosting the Texans for the right to go to the Super Bowl, and the 49ers hosting the Lions. In that case, again, like assuming this is even correct and like there's no major injuries or anything, I will be taking the Bills. I'll probably take the 49ers, but I really want it to be the Lions. And then I'll say Bills over the Niners in the Super Bowl still. So that's what I've got for now. That's what happened. That's what I'm going to guess is going to happen. To the teams I probably jinxed, I'm sorry.